Basic Arithmetic, Part 5 of the Numbers series. Now, in this video, I have broken or I've segmented the video into two parts. Part 1 would be BODMAS, Part 2 would be the law of arithmetic. Now, in Part 1, we will look at what is BODMAS and how is BODMAS going to help us in solving mathematical equations, which means what would be our strategy to solve the mathematical equation. In segment 2, the laws of arithmetic will help us to solve an equation quickly, efficiently, and easily. I'm sure many of you would have come across this BODMAS, BITMAS, PETMAS towards the end of your primary school or the beginning of your higher school, secondary school. Now, BODMAS and BITMAS and PETMAS are the same thing. Yeah, so only the two first alphabets are different. Now, PETMAS is commonly used in the United States. BODMAS and BITMAS are used in the UK and Commonwealth countries, some Commonwealth countries. Okay, now what is that? So it is an acronym to remember the correct order of operation. Now remember, BODMAS is not a law. Okay, it's not a law. It is a rule. Okay, it is a rule. So rule is something that some mathematicians have come together and agreed upon on a strategy of solving an equation with mixed operations because they wanted uniformity. We didn't want they didn't want different people in different parts of the world solving the same mathematical equation using different strategies. So they wanted to make the strategies uniform. They came up with BODMAS. Now, what does BODMAS stand for? So BODMAS, as I said earlier, is an acronym. What does it stand for? B stands for bracket. O stands for order. Order, in this case, we are looking at the squares and square roots, or it could be a cube and a cube root. It does not matter, but I think you get the idea. And D stands for division, and M stands for multiplication, A stands for addition, and S stands for subtraction. Now, what do I do with this? Good question. The order of solving a multi-operation equation is you begin with brackets and you end with subtraction. That is how you solve. Now this may sound confusing, but let's let's work this acronym with some examples. I've got an example here. Let's look at the first example. It says 3 plus 6 multiplies 7. So what do you think will be the answer? Pause for a moment and let me know in the comment section. So 3 plus 6 multiplies 7. Your answer should be 3 plus 6 multiplies 7 would be 42, and therefore it should be 45. Now, did you observe the way I solved this equation? I solved the multiplication part first. I solved this first. And then I took the product and then I added 3. Now, why did I do this? Because I am following the BODMAS order. The BODMAS order says multiplication comes before addition. So I got to solve any expression involving multiplication before I could solve anything with addition. So based on this rule, I multiplied 6 and 7 and I got the product, which is 42, and then I added to 3, which gave me 45. Now, can you imagine if you don't have BODMAS, if this BODMAS doesn't exist, I would solve it in this way. And maybe you would like to say that, okay, I want to do as 3 plus 6 multiply 7. 3 plus 6 will be 9. 9 multiplies 7 is 63. Now, which is correct? You see the point? So, BODMAS exists to assist us to solve mathematical equations uniformly across the globe. Now, let's look at example 2. Example 2, I used the same equation as in example 1. So it's 3 plus 6 multiply 7. But in this case, I have written the 3 plus 6 in a bracket. Now, if you remember the acronym, B stands for bracket. I mean, B, bracket comes first. So I've got to solve anything which is written in the bracket. So I've got two terms here, 3 plus 6. So this would be 9 multiply 7, and my answer would be 63. Okay, now let's look at example 3. Example 3, I have multiply and divide. Now, multiply and divide are inverse operations. If what I mean by inverse operation is 4 multiplied by 2 is 8, and if I inverse it, 8 divided by 2 equals to 4, which goes to say that multiply and divide kind of belong to the same group. Now, if you find operations which belong to the same group, it does not matter. You can solve in this way. 3 times 8 is 24, divide by 2, the quotient is 12, or I could do it the other way. 8 divided by 2 equals to 4, multiply 3 is still gives me the same result. So if you are working with the operations from the same group, it does not matter. But the rule of the thumb is we always solve an equation from the left to the right. Okay, from left to the right. So remember this, yeah, we solve from left to the right. Now, example 4, 4 plus 6 is 10. 10 minus 7 is equals to 3. I can also choose to solve 6 minus 7 first. So it will be 4 plus negative 1, which will also give me the same answer, 3. Because addition and subtraction belongs to the same group. They are inverse of each other. Okay, now since you have seen some basic the use of BODMAS in this example, let's try to solve a more difficult equation. Here I have 15 plus 3 multiply 2 minus 8 divide 4. So remember, scan from the left to the right to determine which of this you will solve first. What will be your strategy? So I look for the operations. Now I have multiply here and I have divide here. So divide and multiply will have to go first before addition and subtraction. So I'm going to work this first. So it's 15 plus 3 multiply 2 is 6, and then minus 8 divided by 4 is 2. So 15 plus 6 is 21 minus 2, and I will end up with 19. So that will be my answer. So if you notice, I followed exactly what the acronym has told me to do. That was my strategy, and I followed it to the dot. And remember, always scan from left to right, determine your operations, and then work the equation. Now let's look at this. Now this one is even more complicated. So I've got 18 divide, and then I've got a real big bracket, a square bracket, which says 3 multiplied, and then I have the squiggly bracket, which is 2 plus, and then I have my normal curve bracket, which is 5 minus 1. So remember, when you have situations where you have a multitude of sets of brackets, you work from the inner bracket first. So this is how you solve this. 18 divide, so this still stands, so this is 3 multiply, and this squiggly bracket still stands, is 2 plus. So I'm going to solve this. 5 minus 1 is 4. So okay, now I've got 18 divide. So now I'm going to solve the squiggly bracket. So I'm going to change this big, okay, let's keep that so it doesn't confuse. So 3 multiply 2 plus 4 is 6. And then finally I solve 3 multiply is 6. So 18 divided by 18 equals to 1. See, right from the beginning, I did not do anything with 18. The reason is 18 is outside of the bracket. Anything that is inside the bracket has to be solved first. And when you have multiple sets of brackets, always remember, work from the inner bracket and then work your way out. Now, that is a little bit on BODMAS. I do hope you have learned a little bit from this video, and stay tuned for segment 2, in which we will be discussing about the laws of arithmetic.